The tips are one day late. We had to evaluate the markets for just one more day on the podcast daily, but it is Thursday and it's time for some stonks. That is Bill Landis and Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward. So I didn't know if we were going to do these every week, but Berm felt like left out, Bill, that we did some stocks without him after the opener. So we had to dip back in and we're going to make some more investments like we always do. And Berm is going to get to go first because he complained.
Wow. I didn't complain. Let's be clear about that. I was just simply a little bit taken aback because I thought that we were.
He said,
I thought we were a team.
He walked away
together,
and he went out to the lobby of the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. And he goes, "What are you guys gonna do? Another episode of the Daily and make some stock picks without me?"
Yeah, but I didn't.
The answer was yes.
I didn't know that you were gonna. So I guess in some ways, it felt more like a jab because I think you did it on purpose. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Stock up on the cheesy gordita crunch, by the way. It's still Taco Bell's best item. The wife and I, the schedules have been a little wonky. And then this week with the off week, there's just not a lot of food in the house. So I had Taco Bell for lunch, which I don't really do when I'm at home. I do all the time when I'm at Austin's house. But the cheesy gordita crunch just continues to absolutely smack.
Will you mix in a Crunchwrap Supreme?
Yeah, occasionally, but I don't love the Crunchwrap with the ground beef. Like they used to have the shredded chicken at Taco Bell that was elite with the Crunchwrap, but that's for those who know, Anyway, talking about
today's not Freaky Friday, Berm. That you should have saved your food tips and stocks for Friday.
But it's a stock.
This is Thursday. We're talking about the Buckeyes.
I think there's still a lot of people who go to Taco Bell on the somewhat regular and don't know about the cheesy gordita crunch. And if you don't, then like, what are you doing with your life? Stock up on Chip Kelly and Ohio State. I don't know that we've really discussed enough the impact that Chip Kelly has made to this point and what he's allowed Ryan Day to become. It feels like we talked about it somewhat regularly, but I still don't know that the impact is really being discussed enough because we're seeing such a different version of Ryan Day, but also the constantly evolving Ohio State offense, which I think has the ability to be something completely different every single week. And to me, that is really unique in this era of college football. Some of that obviously is just the roster construction and how deep and talented Ohio State is across the board. But, listening to Jim Knowles on Tuesday, he was talking about how one of the things Ohio State was trying to improve on was in this improvement week was how do you prepare for the talent equated games down the road and how to anticipate what offenses may do against the defenses that they've seen. I don't know that defenses around the country can have that sort of look ahead ability with the Ohio State offense because they can just change it on a dime and change it every single week. And that is something that I don't know that we really talked about enough. Maybe because we weren't sure how Will Howard would fit into the scheme and to how Chip Kelly would use him. But man, it is fun to watch this offense right now and not really knowing week to week which style of play we're going to get. And that is pretty tough to defend. So stock way up on the offense where I think coming into the season, maybe we were like, oh, the defense will be the unit that carries this team. And I don't think they have to be. Even they're pretty good. Obviously they can, but I'm more and more confident that they don't have to be. I think the offense can just win games for you.
We call that complementary football.
Yeah, with an E, not an I.
That's right.
You complimented their football as well with an I, with how good they're playing.
Do you think that's another thing I don't think a lot of people know? There are two different types of complementary.
I was like 31 when I learned that. So yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
I think it's remarkable to compare the different concepts and plays and schemes and overall game plan from week 1 to just week 2 for Ohio State. Like, certainly people wanted to discount the level of competition. That's fine. Doesn't matter. The plays that they ran, the success that they had with them were very different in both of those games. And if they continue to do that, I really have a hard time understanding how teams are going to be able to defend Ohio State with the weapons they have at every single position. Bill and I talked about that on Wednesday's Daily with Will Howard specifically, but when you expand the picture out and the different ways that Chip Kelly can attack, it's pretty dazzling.
Yeah, that was That was a pretty, I don't know if diverse is the right word. It was just very different from what we've seen previously. And it's not even to say what we've seen before was bad, because clearly it wasn't. I'm a little surprised, I guess, just how much this looks like a Chip Kelly offense and not necessarily a Ryan Day offense. Obviously, there are overlapping concepts there, throwing the ball and running the ball. But when Ryan Day said in the offseason, something to the effect of like it's going to look a little different. I think it looks a lot different. I thought it would more or less feel like the Ohio State offense with a thing or two here sprinkled in that had Chip's fingerprints on it. But no, I actually feel like Ryan Day has handed over a decent amount of control to Chip Kelly, which is cool to see. Like I think it's cool to see Ohio State's offense evolve. Even, you know, really good defenses, really good offenses every few years, I think need to evolve. And they're taking the best of what Ohio State has done under Ryan Day and you know, combining it with the best of what Chip Kelly has done for a really long time. And the results right now look really promising. We'll see when they play a defense with a pulse in a couple of weeks, but even Marshall's not a bad defensive team for a group of 5 team. So if they continue with the pace that they're on against that defense, I think that could be instructive. But either way, it's been really fun to watch them. But I think that Berm's stock up is twofold, and you mentioned it in the beginning, Berm. Like it's also what Chip Kelly's presence allows for Ryan Day. And I don't know about you guys, but like Ryan Day saying on Tuesday that he feels like he can be himself now on the sideline, that was like a whoa. Were you not that before? And maybe I'm reading too much into that, but like that was I thought like in very few words he said a whole lot there.
I just think he means like this is a guy, and anyone who's ever spoken to Ryan Day away from the cameras knows, even in a very quick conversation, you pick up how competitive he is and how like just fiery he is as a person. But sometimes, and what he said on Tuesday was like when he's thinking about calling plays, he doesn't have a chance to let that stuff out or to really inspire people. He's so focused on hearing what he's hearing with the coordinators and how to figure out like what to do next. And man, it just makes a difference. And you know, to your point, Bill, like this looks like the Chip Kelly offense with Ryan Day's offense sprinkled on top of it instead of the other way. And that's I mentioned that at Roosters on Tuesday, but I didn't anticipate that happening this fast. And it does go to show how important it is that Ryan Day has someone on the staff that he trusts that intrinsically. And I think about how different it could look if Bill O'Brien had been the offensive coordinator, and I probably would still be pretty good because the talent's really good, but it's an interesting thought exercise.
They're running that rock at Boston College, so I don't know. Might look somewhat similar.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great point, Bill. You noticed that from Ryan Day on Tuesday, but we've talked about that to some extent over the last 8 months, that really the way that Ryan Day has coached in the midst of these last couple of years and like seemingly gone to some sort of dark, foggy place where his actual personality has not shown through. Like we attributed some of that to, you know, Michigan, some of that to the Connor Stallions of it all, just losing these games, all these other parts that are wrapped up into it. But this was one solution that we had talked about even before he did it, when it was the initial like start and stop with Brian Hartline, an offensive coordinator a year ago. Like he's known for a while that he needed to do this. And I think that we've all seen why. But you talk to him for 5 minutes in a hallway in the Woody, or you see the way he's managing the sideline. It's very different. And I struggle to put it in the right terms, but it is like he has rediscovered his own personality, and it's good for Ohio State.
I'm excited to see how that sort of, I guess, bears itself out in bigger games when like
right.
I'm not even like in a bad way. I'm just talking about like the fiery side of him we saw against Georgia. I think is hard to channel week to week when you do have your head buried in a play sheet. I think part of the reason he was able to be that against Georgia is because that was such an airtight game plan, because they had a really long time to prepare for it. Now that he sort of can be that free every week, I wonder if you might see the return of that dude on the sideline, which would be good.
Does that mean that your first stock tip is to buy Ryan Day right now?
No, because that's too similar to I think what Berm laid out. Actually, can I sell some stock? Can I dump some worthless stock?
Absolutely,
we don't do it often. We don't do it often, but it does need to be done.
It's about myself, so it's not really about. It's about my prediction of Ohio State leading the Power 5 in rushing. I just don't think it's going to happen because UCF has rushed for like 50 yards a game or something like that through the first 2 weeks. They don't throw the ball. They're basically a triple option service academy with power conference players. I don't know that Ohio State can catch them. So I'll sell the idea of Ohio State being a leader that way. But I don't think I was wrong on the idea of Ohio State being a much improved rushing team. But I know I wasn't alone in believing that they would be. But I was a little too hot, I think, on exactly how productive the rushing attack would be, even though I think it will be very good. And I think as we get deeper into the season and the games become a little tougher, I think it will be the thing that Ohio State hangs its hat on. But maybe it doesn't, rush for 4,000 yards this year.
It probably could if it wanted to, though, which is, I think that's
when you have Jeremiah Smith, it's like, what are you going to do?
That's a mark in your pro column. Like, I'll buy Bill Landis stock if you're selling it off. Like,
it's not very it's not worth much.
They ran for 275 yards last week. Like that's pretty good.
Yeah,
but
no, they I was just looking it up earlier in the show. Like, they're 17th in the Power 5 in rushing. They will pass a bunch of teams in front of them. They're averaging 220 yards a game, and that's only because it was a little slow out of the gates against Akron. At this point last year, in the first 2 games against Indiana and Youngstown State, I think Ohio State rushed for like 240 yards or something like that, and they've rushed for almost 500 yards, I think, through the 2 games this year. So it's very different. I think they'll give it a good run. UCF is like a different thing that I didn't consider when making that particular prediction. So I would like to sell the stock on the very specific prediction of them leading the Power 5. But if there's still some out there about Ohio State being a dangerous, scary kind of rushing team, I do think it will still be that.
Do you want to amend it and just say they're going to lead the Big Ten in rushing?
Yeah.
I think that's fair,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
I think what you did really was underestimate the importance and what Jeremiah Smith would do to this offense.
I don't know if he did that.
I think I just didn't bother to look at UCF's backfield.
He opens it up in such a way that I don't think people can really have predicted it based on the fact that he's a freshman. So,
yeah.
I did predict it because I said he was going to break all the freshman receiving records by the end of September, and he's on pace to do that. He's great. So I'll buy stock in myself. Great idea, Bill. I'm glad we're doing this. Berm was the original Jeremiah Smith stock buyer on the show, so I guess I'll have to buy some of him too. It's a feel-good Thursday talking on the podcast daily with these stonks. I'm going to go on the offensive line because I like stealing Bill's thunder on that. Josh Simmons and Josh Fryer have been much better in the first 2 games than I think they might be getting credit for. And again, we can put as much grains of salt as we want to on PFF grades and the level of competition. And if you want to take a wait and see approach, I certainly understand. I won't fault you for doing so. But to go out and have 56 pass blocking reps against anybody and not give up a pressure is pretty darn good. When you add in what Ohio State is able to do with some of the success on the ground, and then Will Howard going 11 for 13 on play action passing, these are some of the numbers that on second look, I was like, that bodes pretty well for Ohio State. So I don't think that they're going to go throughout the entire season with perfect pass blocking grades. I think there's probably going to be pressure at some point, and they're going to face better defensive linemen and defensive ends and more blitzes. I understand all that, but the specific grades that Josh Fryer and Josh Simmons got on Saturday against Western Michigan were the 3rd highest that they've ever had in their career. So they had opportunities to play against quote unquote lesser defensive ends or situations a year ago, and they didn't take advantage of them in the same way that they did on Saturday. So I think that there's markers of progress that I don't think should be ignored.
Yeah, they've been good. I also think the Pro Football Focus grades feel weird to me this year. Because I think Seth McLaughlin has been awesome, but his grades aren't that great. So I don't know what PFF.
Yeah, you and I've said this a bunch. Like, it doesn't mean that they're perfect, but if they line up with what you I hate to say like you only take them when they're positive, but like if they match up with what you're seeing, good or bad, then you might put some validity on them. There are some that I've seen in the first couple of weeks for Ohio State that I don't necessarily agree with, and that's a conversation for another day. But these seem like they're probably pretty good reflections of what Ohio State is doing on the offensive line at tackle.
Yeah, I agree.
Stock down on PFF grades.
No, just holding steady. You can't take them as gospel. They're just a
stock down on taking them too seriously.
Stock down on taking PFF grades as gospel.
There you go. Nailed it.
Cool. I'm glad we got
Do you
there
have
eventually.
Yeah. What else you got?
Stock up on Ohio State playing younger players earlier. And I don't know, again, maybe this goes back to the new-ish, rediscovered-ish Ryan Day, and maybe he's got more time to have his finger on the pulse of different position groups. But 80 players played against Western Michigan, and that is a lot. I'm not sure that I can recall the last time Ohio State played that many players in a game. And it's not wasted reps, which is something I like most of all. These guys who are getting in the game are playing because they deserve it and because they have put in the work to get there. But it extends far beyond just freshmen like James Peoples, who I think, as again, we've talked about before, like there is a belief in the Ohio State program that not only is James Peoples going to be a good running back, but like an elite running back and, a future like all Big Ten Heisman candidate type running back. But it goes to guys like Gabe Powers. It goes to guys obviously like Arvell Reese, who has just shot up the discussion meter. Can you imagine in June that we would talk about Arvell Reese as much as we have? Like there's things like that, but that only happens because Ryan Day and his coaches, who I think it's probably an offshoot of having Chip Kelly there, but I just think he trusts his coaches so much more this year. And you are seeing the coaches then having an opportunity to be a little bit more free with who they play. And everyone's getting a chance. And I'm really excited for the future of Ohio State when you have the recruiting classes they have coming in. And we've gone back and forth and round on this in the past. But if you have these many young players coming in that are highly recruited, that are big money NIL guys, like they have to play. They absolutely have to play. And whether or not they'll be playing when Ohio State's playing in East Lansing or at Eugene, that doesn't matter. There's enough opportunity for these guys to get reps. And with the Big Ten championship possibility and the expanded playoff possibility, you can play 7-8 games and still redshirt. So it's a wild. That's pretty stupid when you think about it, but I'm glad it's happening because these guys deserve the chance to play.
It seems like they're going towards just giving people 5 years of eligibility anyway, so I'm fine with that part. It is weird and more complicated, but if that's where the end result is, that it's just 5 years of college eligibility, so be it.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. It makes it just easier to like figure out, right? There's people now who are like currently playing who are still trying to figure out whether or not they have a year of eligibility left, right? There
are some people playing who are in their 9th year of college football. So
yeah, that too, right? So it's just if giving an extra year to everybody makes it cleaner, I'm good with that.
Yeah, stock up on helping the student athlete.
That's right, enhancing the student athlete experience. Can I get some Kayden McDonald stock? Is that available?
I have it all.
You have it all?
Yeah,
he's been really good, man. He's been popping off the television screen, at least from my point of view. The first 2 games, there's that PFF stop stat that's like failure for the offense thing, whatever that is.
Yeah,
he's got 4 of them. He's third on the team with four stops in 2 games. He had 3 last week. He had 1 the week before. I think that he is close to, or if maybe perhaps already has, solidified himself as the 3rd defensive tackle. I think the snap counts bear that out, but it just feels like with his play and the impact that he's making on the games too, that he's going to be that guy. They still need more there. I think you want 4 or 5, right? Ryan Day was talking about that during the week, that Larry Johnson wants the rotated tackle as long as he has the guys showing they can do it. I think they do. I think Tyleik Williams and Ty Hamilton have actually played maybe more than I anticipated these first 2 games because they are waiting for some of those young guys to really step up. But I think Kayden McDonald seems like he's ready especially with the way he played last week. And I know it's a Mac O-line, whatever. Like if that's the case, then you want to see a guy like Kayden McDonald go out there and dominate a little bit. I felt that he did when the snaps that he played. So whatever's left, whatever Austin doesn't already own, I'll take some of that because I think he is now a very important player for this defense.
I could sell you a little because I'd still make a profit. So
yeah.
Maybe I'll do that.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to make a much bigger profit down the road because he is going to be a star on the inside.
Yeah.
You know how I like to pat myself on the back all the time?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Yep.
So I was just looking at my 2023 class superlatives.
Oh, here we go.
Who is the president in that class?
Well, let's just start here. Biggest sleeper in the Ohio State class, Kayden McDonald. he will make an impact early in his Ohio State career, I said. But here's the one that I wanted to bring up. The Marvin Harrison Award is what I called it, because Marvin Harrison was so much better than anyone expected that he would be right away when he got on campus. The winner of that award was Arvell Reese, just to be clear.
Can we go check the books and make sure he's not going back and editing these after the fact?
We'll never know. There's no traces.
The first Buckeye Award is inspired by Marvin Harrison. This honor is bestowed on the player that, despite being well-regarded as a recruit, will stun the coaches in Columbus by being so much better than they expected him to be. And that was Arvell Reese.
I think you got it.
It's pretty good.
You crushed it.
Nailed it.
I wish we were in the Woody right now so that we could both pat you on the back.
I'm up on Berm superlatives.
I just know what I'm going to talk to Arvell about next time I see him.
Please don't do that to him. Not again.
What else did I have on that? I had the Tommy Eichenberg Award.
For broken thumbs?
Best grunt?
No, it's the Tommy Eichenberg Award was for the player that never wanted to be interviewed, but it was fun to watch because he was just so good as a player. And the winner of that award was Austin Sareveld.
I think, well, we haven't interviewed Austin Sareveld, right? So, but he hangs around during the media sessions. Like, I don't think he's opposed to it. We just haven't really had an opportunity yet.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
He would have been a good off week guy to talk to. If Donovan's going to come back and get back in the lineup, would have been nice to.
Yeah, but we had to talk to Joe McGuire, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I like talking to Australian guys. They say funny things in a funny way.
Yeah, I'm not against it. I'm just saying that there probably were people that were more
relevant
to the long-term success of this team. But whatever.
I think you should take advantage of that opportunity from last week and write about Joe McGuire or do a full podcast about him. And I think that's
whose turn is it?
It's mine.
Austin's turn.
This is what we call filibustering.
No, I was ready because I felt really good for Bennett Christian on Saturday night. So it's not a high profile stock to grab, but Ohio State's tight ends are playing at a level that Chip Kelly and Keenan Bailey want to put 4 of them out on the field, including Bennett Christian. They also want to throw to him in the fourth quarter of games and let. Maybe that wasn't the way it was actually designed. Maybe Western Michigan was just shocked that Ohio State ran a 4th down play action play and leaked out a tight end. I don't know, but Bennett Christian ran the route, caught the ball, celebrated. The teammates all felt really good for him. You saw 10 or 11 Buckeyes going out there to give him huge hugs, give him credit for what he did a year ago during the suspension, continuing to go out there with the scout team and try and get better for an opportunity that was coming along like this. He's not going to score a lot of touchdowns for Ohio State, but he's going to be a pretty important blocker, I think. And if he catches a couple more footballs, all the better for the Buckeyes. But for as much as we talked about the tight ends being the least proven group for Ohio State, I think through 2 weeks you can say that they're doing just about as much as Ryan Day and Chip Kelly and Keenan Bailey could ask for. So good on them and good on Bennett Christian for sticking through that whole process.
Yeah, that was really cool to see that happen. Because I remember talking with Bennett, I guess it was before the first game, just like about how excited he was to like run out of the tunnel in uniform and like know that he was playing after last year. And like last year, I just think was purely an honest mistake. And like it kind of sucks that it happened for him, but I think it would have been very easy to like check out, perhaps even look elsewhere. And he didn't. So it was nice to see him get rewarded for it.
He did.
Great kid. Wonderful kid.
Yeah.
Big fan of his. Went and saw him at his in high school.
You did. Are you done reading about your own work from the past, or do you have one more pick?
No, I have looking back at the 2020 22. No. Luke Montgomery is stock up. And he's a guy that I think most people had a lot of stock in when the spring started and maybe tried to shuffle some of that off after he had what I would describe as a sophomore slump at the end of spring. And when we saw the rise of Tegra Shabola and Austin Sareveld and everyone else, and I don't think Luke should be discounted. And seeing him on Saturday going out there and just mauling people from the guard position, showing really the athleticism that makes him such an intriguing offensive line prospect, no matter where he is on the line. That was really encouraging to see, and I know something that Luke probably needed pretty bad, because there can be confidence hits that you take, even if you do and say everything right. You're still seeing other guys playing in front of you, and then when you get out there, maybe you don't feel like you make the impact you wanted to. But hearing Ryan Day talk about the second team offensive line, going back and rewatching Luke's reps, I just thought he really played really well, and I'm excited for the opportunity to see where that takes him when he gets more opportunities. Now, I don't know if he's going to be a center or a guard or a tackle, but I think no matter where he plays, he's going to make himself valuable. And I want to just stow some of that Luke Montgomery stock that maybe people sold off for less than they should have a few months ago, because I still think he's going to be a really valuable contributor for Ohio State.
I like it. He played well on Saturday. He was like really getting after people. It was nice to see. I'll buy some Seth McLaughlin. We talked about him already this week, so I don't want to repeat myself necessarily. But for all the reasons we mentioned on Tuesday, I think he is in a really good place. He has this offensive line in a really good place. I think like the conversation about like who's the best center in the country is sort of like wide open. I think it's a little more clear at other offensive line positions. And I wasn't necessarily expecting Seth to be in that conversation this year. Like a good player, but maybe not quite to that level. And I'm not like ready to crown him after playing well against 2 MAC teams, but I have been pleasantly surprised with like the way he's just handled himself, the way he's really gotten after it in the run game in particular. Obviously the snaps have been clean, but I think maybe he is somebody who has that kind of ceiling to him. If we want to talk about that, like closer to the end of the year when things settle down a little bit and we get a better idea of who exactly should be in that conversation, I think Seth's got a pretty good chance of being there now, and I wasn't anticipating that. So
you're saying stock up on the Remington coming back to Columbus, Ohio?
Maybe. It's probably like far too early to say that, because it's not, like I said, there's just like there's a lot of guys it could be. I think there's not like what do you call it? There's not a Kelvin Banks of the center position, I think, or the dude from LSU. So it could kind of come from anywhere, but I think Ohio State could be a part of it with the way that Seth has played this year so far.
He's also got the built-in name recognition nationally, and that's one of the secrets to winning college football awards, fairly or unfairly, depending on the situation that it's in. So he's going to be probably a finalist almost by default, as long as Ohio State doesn't lose a game, which there's a long way to go for them to do that.
And people love a comeback story.
They do. All that works in his favor. People know who he is, and they know what happened to him at the end of last year. They also know he's really smart, and they know the Buckeyes are good. So like that's going to point in the right direction for him to get some votes. I'm going to sell off a little stock on the idea that Ohio State is going to rotate at wide receiver. Like, I think they really are sold on these top 3 elevating, and they have to have Brandon Ennis involved, and he'll be involved as the 4th wide receiver. But we spent some time in camp. We saw Bryson Rogers making some really good plays. We saw Kojo Antwi having a little bit of a surge during camp, and he got on the field on Saturday night. But I don't think Ohio State, when the chips are down, once you get to, I don't know, the first Saturday in October or beyond, or even in East Lansing at the end of September, that you're going to take Jeremiah Smith off in any situation, that you're not going to have Emeka Egbuka on the field, that you're not going to be playing Carnell Tate. Like, I think that the players that the Buckeyes have recruited and developed at wide receiver are good enough to play at Ohio State, but the ones at the top are like NFL first-round draft picks, and if you're Brian Hartline and Chip Kelly and Ryan Day, you're just not going to take them off the field. Like, and I don't know why they would either.
No, I think you're probably right. I think it felt like they were trying to get Brandon Ennis involved a little earlier last week, and I think it's like 3.5, like the rotation. It's not maybe not all the way 4, because there will be a gap between the top 3 and what Brandon is. I think Jeremiah Smith is 30, has like 30 more snaps than Brandon Ennis at the moment. They're just not going to take those 3 guys out the field. What I actually think will be interesting is who ends up leading the receivers in snaps, because right now it's Carnell Tate. But I guess I won't be surprised if it's Jeremiah by the middle of the year with the way he's played.
Yeah, I mean, again, to what Austin said, like, there's not really a reason to take those guys off the field just to put anybody else in just for feelings at this point. I do think that Brandon Ennis is a little different because I think he brings something a little different to the conversation and the way his leadership is viewed by the team. I think that he's a guy that demands more playing time because the guys on the team love him and want him out there, and he is someone that is, doing the right thing on and off the field. Every snap he's out there busting his balls back, whatever. He's really working hard. I think that matters so much in the big picture of things. And the fact that he can play in the backfield, the fact that he can play in the slot, the fact that he can play outside, the fact like he's going to be. So I don't know that I would say the rotation stops at 3 because I really do think he'll be a regular and consistent, on the field dude for the Buckeyes. But it's pretty hard to get beyond him and look and see any reason that those guys should come off the field.
I think that's also why he's going to wind up as the kickoff and punt returner when Ohio State comes back off of improvement week, because they do feel, they keep saying that they feel him and they know what he can do physically. He's just, you want to tap into that somehow, and they already trust him with the top punt returning job. So I don't think it's a stretch to think that he could return kickoffs as well. And he just, the way he's built and the way he moves seems more naturally suited to that for me as well. But
is he gonna snap both streaks then by himself?
I think so, yeah.
Wow.
Probably on the same play.
But it won't be till next year because I'm a special team skeptic still. I'm going to hold out. I no longer believe.
we need to sit you down with
Berm's predicted it too many times.
Yeah.
I had 100% love to. I'd also like to play golf with him because everything I've been told is that he can get it around the yard out there pretty well. So maybe I don't want that because he'd beat me too badly. Anyway, we'll get some special teams talk out of it and maybe some more stock tips for you on the podcast daily. This has been a Thursday edition of it. Day later than normal for the Stonks, but we had to get Berm back involved because I don't want to be the one just being constantly criticized for not letting him invest fake money. And so now
wait. You guys aren't investing real money?
Have you been this whole time?
Yeah. I am broke.
Well, make better picks, Berm. That's all we can tell you. That's why this advice show is out here. You should be listening to Bill, although he's selling off his own stock. So I don't know what to make of it. Anyway, it's been a show. We're going to be back with a Freaky Friday version of the podcast daily. We're also going to have a little bit of a home breaks mailbag. So get those questions in on subtext as well. The number has been scrolling at the bottom of the screen, I think, for the entire show, at least for part of it right now. But you can join right there. Yeah, Bron?
I got one more thing to say. If you're watching this show and you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, subscribe now and hit the little notification bell that says, hey, when these guys put out new stuff, I get told. I watched Kings of Columbus, and one of the subscriber questions said we should remind people to subscribe more often. So I was just doing that because it's true. We don't really self-promote that much, despite how much we love to hear ourselves talk.
But don't people know how YouTube works? Like it always is annoying to me if I'm watching.
Yeah, but a lot of people are still just algorithm whores. You know what I mean? Like they're just like, if you're in my algorithm, but then they don't hit the button. But hitting the button matters.
Okay. Drill down on that button, like and subscribe and hit that bell. And then you'll get all the content that you're watching right now. And you're at the end of the show. You probably already turned it off. And if you did, I understand why. It's Bill Landis and Jeremy Birmingham. I'm Austin Ward. This has been the Podcast Daily. So long.